What is one thing you wish you knew sooner? Or did something we say today become the one thing you wish you knew sooner? And what can you do with that?
If you handle conflict in a way that is constructive toward growth, and you don't avoid conflict, I think you have a really great probability of having a really successful long-term relationship.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1595, month one check-in. We're getting towards the end of January here, so we wanted to do a check-in on how January went. Today, for episode number 1596, the number one thing we wish we knew about relationships sooner. I always used to hear people say, yeah, we never fight. We never argue. Everything's perfect. We just get along. We want to do the same stuff. Everything's perfect. And I remember thinking, I don't think so. I don't think that's real. I don't believe that for a second. Now, maybe you are two very unique unicorns and that's the way it works. I don't really know if I ever expected that. For me, I definitely expected there to be a level of conflict, for lack of better phrasing. So this is the number one thing I wish I knew, I wish I understood, I wish I had learned sooner. And this is just my perspective. The person to be with is the person that you can have the most challenging discussions with, the most vulnerable conversations with, the person you feel the safest going into the depths with. That's really what I've learned, because I don't know if challenges ever go away. I think challenges just change with the quote-unquote success journey, but also in relationships. As you spend more and more time with someone, you're going to have more and more conversations, and they're going to be deeper. And if you're really focused on growth, which is the point of a relationship, shout out to Tori Leto for really making that point land for us. If that's what you're in the relationship for, aren't you going to have a ton of challenging conversations? When I say challenging, I don't mean arguments. I mean things that you might get offended by at the ego level of, no, I always do that. I always take the trash out. I always blah, 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 whatever it is. Or having to voice your needs when that's really challenging, but you trust the person that you're doing it with. I wish I knew that sooner, because now that I'm connecting the dots on past relationships and why I think this one is the most successful I've ever had, it definitely is. That's a big reason why. It's because Taryn and I have really difficult conversations. Probably not as often as we need to. We need to get back into check-ins for sure, and we've been talking about that. But even saying, hey, I want to do check-ins, I don't enjoy them. They're uncomfortable at times. But the less you do them, the more uncomfortable they are, unfortunately. That's kind of the way it works. So that would be my big lesson.
Well, you can't just let things... I told Emilia this recently. I said, we use at the Conscious Couples podcast, the whole podcast is built on how to help you flourish in your relationship, how to grow together and not apart, that kind of thing. And that's not to imply that everyone should be together. Some people I do think should break up if they're incompatible. But we use the Jenga tower as an analogy. And so if you've ever played Jenga, you take out these blocks. And the analogy is the opposite of the point of Jenga, which is don't take the blocks out. And so a lot of times when you don't do check-ins or you're not having those difficult conversations, these blocks are just getting taken out, and eventually the tower is going to fall, aka the relationship is going to fall. And that's why, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 5 years down the road, however long down the road, when you avoid, you don't call out the elephants in the room, you don't look under the carpet, you don't look in the closet, you don't clean out the basement, so to speak, in your relationship, these things that go unspoken, they compound. And eventually it's like, how did we get here? Are we even in love anymore? And I've seen that happen so many times in relationship talks coaching. And you can turn it around, but sometimes we should have been so proactive. We should have been way more proactive. And I can say this with a lot of confidence, having coached couples for 3 years now. The couples that are the most proactive with having difficult conversations have the highest likelihood to succeed. So if you were to say, hey, Alan, you've coached couples for 3 years, you've studied obviously human behavior and psychology and relationships, and you're starting to understand what makes relationships flourish. I was not naturally good at this by any means. What would you, like, who would you bet on? Who's a couple you would bet on? And I would be able to, with high statistical probability of success, I'd be able to pick couples that I would bet on. And the couples that I would bet on definitely are people who do check-ins. People who have high humility, people who are constantly trying not to screw the relationship up, but not so paranoid that they end up not being themselves. It's growth-oriented people who want to be better. And then most importantly, and this is mine, they want you to be you. They want you to be you. That's what it comes down to. I don't want you to be what I want you to be. I want you to be you. And that's an unconscious thing, because no one consciously is like, oh, I don't really want you to be. I was in a past relationship, and this person, without a question, wanted me to be what was best for her, not wanting me to be what I am, who I am. And so if you can, out there listening or watching to this, if you can say, yes, I am proactively checking in and having the tough conversations, and I really genuinely, without question, want my partner to be the best, brightest version of themselves, who they aspire to be, not who I want them to be, I think you have a very high probability of success. And the very last thing here, that before I let Kevin talk again, is essentially Kev kind of called me out there, because I often say Emilia and I never fight, and we have never fought. But what I need to make clear is we've had what I call challenging moments, and we've definitely had challenging conversations. When I hear fight, I think of like yelling, storming out, slamming the door, hanging up on each other. None of that. We've never done any of that. But you better believe we've had tough conversations that were vulnerable beyond imagination, and some of the toughest conversations I've ever had, just because your heart is so scared. Your heart is so hurt and so scared at times, and you don't know if you're going to be loved for who you are. There's just really scary moments in relationships. So even though I say we never fight and never have fought, I want to make it very clear we've had many challenging moments. I just think the way we handled those challenging moments, thanks to her, not me, I would have definitely gotten angry and or raised my voice had she not kind of called me out properly, and had she not emotionally regulated. But if it wasn't for the way we handled the conflict, there's no way that we would have the magnificent relationship that we do now. And so it's really not about not having conflict. It's not about not checking in. It's not about not having any problems. It's about how you handle those and how you grow through those and how you are kind and protect each other's heart, particularly in those tough moments.
Equal ownership is another one too. I think that's a very important, I would say ownership, but we've done episodes recently on this, you can over-own. And if you over-own and somebody else under-owns, it can really mess up the dynamic of any relationship.
Been there.
Yeah, you see that a lot with like parents and, I don't want to say children, parents. And if you're a parent and you have a child, are they children forever? Isn't that weird? Is that a weird thought?
I don't know. According to the law, depending on which country you're from, I think 18 is typically you're an adult. But
yeah, but what you don't say, I have how many children do you have? People say they don't say
how many parents do you have? Yeah.
How many adults have you reared? So you see this often with parent and children. You see that very often where a parent will. The relationship is the parent tells the child they're wrong, the child that they're wrong, and the child over-owns that, and then that becomes the dynamic of the relationship, and that's a whole thing. The other thing I was going to say, because I was thinking of this, one of the reasons I reference you and I so often, anytime we're doing episodes on relationships, whether we're talking about intimate relationships, friendships, business partnerships, you and I's relationship is the longest I've had other than me and Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I's relationship, we talk every day, we've traveled, we do this, we have a business together. So in a way, you are the relationship I have the most experience in.
Yeah.
So that's why I often reference.
This is the longest for me as well, at least in terms of as an adult.
Yeah.
You know,
Childhood ones don't count. You know what I mean?
I would say Kevin has survived the longest. Yeah. And honestly, it means a lot to me too, because, you know, I think traditionally it's been really hard for me to sustain long-term relationships. That's never felt natural or easy for me. So it means a lot.
Well, likewise. Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there. But I think it's equal ownership. If anything, we try to talk each other down a little bit. They're like, all right, man, I understand you're taking ownership, but I definitely could have done better too.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how we are. It's not usually it's on you.
I can think of at least 3 moments where that didn't happen.
You're holding on
if
to the
I
mic
burp
and
into
sing?
the mic less, there was a tough conversation.
I said that to you in confidence. That was in confidence.
Yeah,
But that's one of the reasons I reference Alan and I so often. The other reason I do is because you hear us every day. So you've probably never really heard us have conflict. I don't know if we've ever had conflict on the mic. We don't have a lot of conflict. I think you and I are very...
Only one time on the mic, but we
When
didn't
was
air
that?
it. So Emilia,
yes.
prior to Kevin and I, or prior to Emilia and I ever meeting on our first date, Emilia was a listener of the Hyperconscious podcast, and I say listener loosely. I think she had listened to a couple episodes, and she reached out we were talking on Instagram a little bit, and she reached out with an episode of how to balance selfishness and selflessness, which now we understand Drive to 5 better. We probably could have done a better job,
Definitely.
but I still to this day joke, it is the one time that I understood the listener better than Kevin did.
Yes.
and we got in a very, very heated, challenging moment on the microphone of like, Kev, you don't understand what she wants. And this is before I knew she was Emilia, so I apparently was very adamant for a reason.
Never saw the light of day. We've had a handful of those. We've had a handful of episodes that did not see the light of day. Most of them are guest episodes. I think that was the only... It was that, and then I remember we recorded a relationship episode on the pool table in your basement.
Yeah.
And that one never saw the light of day either because neither of us knew what in the hell we were talking about. And I was high, a little bit high. So,
and I was. Can I just real quick? This is an episode about love, so this I think is really relevant because I'll never forget this, and I'll probably talk about this forever, probably more than anyone wants to hear it. But if I'm in your earbuds, then you got to hear it. No, I'm kidding. All right, so Kev and I sit at the pool table. He's high. Okay, and
that's how every good story
starts. And he opens the episode. Welcome back to the Mother Effin' Hyperconscious podcast.
No, I didn't for that one.
No?
No. That was a one-time deal.
That was a one-time deal?
Yeah, this was later. We were somewhat seasoned at this point. I think we were in our
17
20s.
or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So anyways, welcome to the Hyperconscious podcast. Change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. Never forget it. Hyperconscious. Shout out. And he opens it with, Alan thinks that Alan and I disagree. Something like that. And he's like, Alan seems to think that the most important thing in an intimate relationship is trust. I disagree. I think it's communication. And then we went into a Discord, a very healthy Discord about that. And I think that's a powerful episode because now that I've, now that I've coached so many people, but now that I've done relationship talks coaching for 3 years, trust and communication are super connected. If you don't have good communication, you're going to lose trust. And if you don't have trust, your communication is going to be super difficult. And so they're super connected. And honestly, to this day, all these years later, Kev, I think those are the two most important. I do. Still.
I would agree. Trust creates psychological safety. Physical safety creates safety. communication can help you solve all the conflict that you're going to experience. I mean, those really are the two. So I would agree with that. I still think mine's more, but whatever. It is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. We don't have to discord over it or anything like that. You do need both. So my next level nugget for you, whether you're watching or listening, is what is one thing you wish you knew sooner? Or did something we say today become the one thing you wish you knew sooner? And what can you do with that? For that, when I was thinking of this, that came right to me. It was like, that really is powerful. If I'm 60 years old and somebody says, hey, what's the best relationship advice you have? Hopefully I remember that of all the things. Because I think if I could say with my old man voice, I'll probably be about 4'11", because I'm probably going to get shorter as time goes by, and I don't have a lot to lose. With my old man voice, I'll probably say, son, the person to be with is the person you can have tough conversations with. That's what I hope for.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That was brutal for me. You think you're going to sound like that at 60? 60 is still young, man.
I was channeling the guy from Up when I did that.
Oh,
so
you were? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Stay a while and listen.
What's your next level nugget, sir?
My next level nugget is this. I think we need to create a pyramid at NLU of the foundation that builds a great relationship.
Yeah, of course.
I think that would be powerful. The bottom could be trust, then communication, then ownership. I think it would be fire. So, anyways, we'll do that. We'll get on it. My next level nugget is, if you handle conflict in a way that is constructive toward growth, and you don't avoid conflict, I think you have a really great probability of having a really successful long-term relationship.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man.
You're very welcome. Next Level Nation, very excited. So my mom and Mima, shout out to Mom and Memes, have donated 6 NLU Dreamliners. My mom texted me today at like 5:30. She works the third shift. And I was in the office working. And she said, hey, I'd like to donate 3 Dreamliners. And then she said, you know what? Mima would like to donate 3 Dreamliners as well. Give them to someone. You can do a giveaway on the podcast. So this is what we're going to do. If you leave us a review, a written review on whatever podcast platform you're listening
preferably
to us
positive.
Yeah, preferably positive. And screenshot it and send it either to Kevin@nextleveluniverse.com or Alan@nextleveluniverse.com. Here's why. A couple reasons. One, we need your address because we'll literally send it right to you. You don't have to do anything. Just give us your address and we'll send it to you. Part 2, if you're in a different country, we can't see the reviews. So all we can really see, I mean, we can, there's ways to do it, but usually we can only see the reviews from this country unless we go digging. And we're in the U.S. I know we have global listeners. So if you want it, the first 6 people who leave reviews and send it over, we are going to send these off totally free. Shout out to Mom and Memes for taking care of the NLU family.
Shout out to Mom and Memes. That was so sweet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, we will keep your address private. Do not worry.
Correct.
We'll keep your address private. So, it is 2024, and if you're ready to get to the next level of your life, we have an event in 56 days, 20 hours, 29 minutes, and 56 seconds. The Groton Inn is a beautiful venue. Mountains in the background. We've been there before. That's where Kevin gave his very first speech. That was the first time we ever spoke together. It's going to be interesting going back there all these years later as a new upgraded version, next level version of ourselves. There's in-person tickets. Lunch is included, and it is a very, very, very nice venue that has really good food. And we know that because we've done this before. Okay, the in-person event ticket is $97, which will include also a Dreamliner. So if you come for no other reason than just to get a free Dreamliner, that's what you do. We also are doing a virtual event. So if you are not local, okay, so the in-person is reserved for only people that are local. If you are local, please do that. If you're not local, we have a lot of global listeners. We're doing 30 people in person, 30 people virtual, 6 groups total, all of 10. So 60 people total, 30 and 30, groups of 10. The virtual event ticket is $47. I already talked to Kev. I've already told you this yesterday. If for whatever reason you come to the event and for some reason it's not amazing and you don't like it and you think it's awful, I seriously doubt that's going to happen. We're putting all of our best stuff into this. we will give you your money back, okay, for the virtual ticket. So the landing page is up. The link is in the show notes. All the photos from last year are there. We have people at workshop. It's awesome. So it's going to be absolutely great. All the photos are there. Kevin and I, Amy, Jesse. Come meet the team. Come see us. We hope to see you in person. We only get to do in-person things a couple times a year, and it really does mean the world to us. And even if you are virtual, we want it to feel like you're there with us. Okay? It's going to be very different than listening to a podcast passively. It's going to be live. It's going to be live. So we hope you join us, learn exactly how to design and achieve the most aligned, fulfilling, and successful life possible. Next Level University, Next Level Live 2024.
Boom. Ready to run through a wall.
Yeah, man. It's going to be good. 57
You know what I mean?
days out. Let's go. Or 56 or something. I forget what it said.
Something like that. Airbnb is booked. The team's coming in, so there'll be a lot of behind-the-scenes content as well. Okay, tomorrow for episode number 1597, this is Alan's recommendation from something that he talked to clients about with Emilia. What a tough run-on sentence that was. The 3 buckets of expenses. Again, we are life, love, health, and wealth. And I realize we don't talk about as much about money as we could, so I want to do a better job there. So we're going to try to juggle the topics a little bit better. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep checking in with your partners. Next Level Nation.